Part 1, Chapter 1, November 1950, Detroit, Michigan. He has no idea what to expect upon entering his apartment. He has been away for a long time, a very long time. The time that was spent far away moved slowly, and as the world passed him by, as loved ones passed away, his time crept by like the movements of a snail on hot pavement. But that time is done. And now he stands as he fumbles for the key inside his right trouser pocket. His gray fedora tilts to the right side of his head, shading his eye a bit. His $3 suit is wrinkled and worn thin from the long bus ride. He has traveled a great distance, and now he is standing in front of the door that he walked out of more than 5 years ago, like so many other young men who volunteered to fight the Nazis in a far-off land. Then he finds the key underneath his last $2 bills. The letters had stopped coming about 2 years ago. At about the same time, he lost a man on a recovery mission, a suicide mission he was ordered not to take. But he could not leave a man behind. He climbed above his commanding officer and was given the go-ahead, and he went. But it was a futile effort and a lot of months wasted. He tries not to think about those things, especially now. Somewhere deep inside him, he wants to believe she will be on the other side of the door, waiting to embrace him as he enters. He wants more than nothing than to feel her arms wrap around his thin neck, her feet leaving the ground as she hangs from his body, their lips embraced. This makes his smile turn up at the corners. She was furious when he signed up. She could not understand what could make a young man want to go and die for people that he did not know. The look in her eyes when he told her chilled him, and for a brief moment he felt a pang of regret for his actions. But it was too late. He had seen what was taking place, and he knew he had to help. He's always had a natural leadership quality. He's a quick thinker and a problem solver. This made him perfect for the military, but he chose to return home once his time was up. He met her when he was a rookie police officer. He was working a beat, and she was a ticket taker at the local theater. She had the most beautiful auburn hair he had ever seen. It was curly and hung to her shoulders. It made her look like a starlet. Her makeup enhances all of her natural features. She captured him in a way no other woman had ever. When he caught her staring at him, he was there to buy a ticket to the latest Edward G. Robinson flick. He forced a smile. Smiling is not Jack Manson's natural feature. He had not yet grown the pencil-thin mustache that would be his most identifying mark. His hand touched hers as he took the ticket. Her hand, small and dainty, gently rubbed his. He felt his heart race when she smiled at him. A sweet, innocent smile. She showed all of her white upper teeth at once. It was a genuine smile. He could tell she was a few years younger, but he didn't mind because they both were still of the age where the world was a playground for young adults. Once the movie completed, he returned to the ticket booth, but she had left for the evening. He went back several times to watch the same film just so he could talk with her, saying a little more each time. Then finally, one moonlit night underneath the star-studded sky and the planets all aligned perfectly in his favor, he asked her for a date. And to his surprise and much relief, she said yes. He did this for nearly 2 months. He would go to the cinema and ask her out, and she would go until finally they became an item. One night after watching The Mark of Zorro starring Tyrone Power, he grew a mustache and began working full-time at the police department. She thought the mustache made him look debonair, dashing if not a little dangerous, and working on the force gave him a heroic quality. The two fell in love, and soon after they were married, and soon after that Pearl Harbor was attacked. That event alone was the only thing that could have torn him away from his young bride. As Jack Manson opened the door to apartment 13, it was like opening the tomb of a long-dead pharaoh. A gush of icy cold wind, like the cold touch of death, rushed against his thin, downtrodden face. His tweed jacket did little to keep his skeletal frame warm. "She stopped paying months ago." Jack turns his head to his left. Behind him stands Mrs. Nussbaum. "I couldn't bear to rent it to anyone else. I mean, with you off fighting and all." She paused for a moment. "I saved the letters you sent. They're back in my apartment.
Would you like them back?
No, burn them. How much is owed in rent? She frowns. The expression tells him he could never make up the payments.
Don't worry about it. What she did was wrong. Now, I'm not one to get into anyone's business, Mr. Manson, but there was an envelope from a lawyer. Maybe a divorce?
Yeah, maybe. Jack takes a step into the freezing apartment.
I couldn't keep the electricity on. No use anyway. Government asked us to conserve because of the war, so I had it turned off. Water still runs, though.
Thank you, Mrs. Nussbaum.
Please, call me Nancy. Are you going to get your old job back?
I'm going tomorrow to see. Captain Harrison assured me I would have a job when I returned.
Oh, thank the Lord,
she said, waving a palm in the air.
I will go and call about the electricity now.
He watched as she turned and strolled her way down the hall. Jack turns and faces the emptiness that he had long forgotten, the quiet stillness, the solitude. He steps further into his dwelling. A few feet of the hallway are before opening into a large room. The wedding pictures still hang on the walls. He glances as he passes them. He then finds himself standing beside his phone table near the entrance to his modest kitchen. She took only what was hers and left all the memories for him. His round dining table was still there, all 3 chairs in place just as he had last seen them. He looks to the right. The living room is the same as he remembers. A dark green couch and a small round mahogany coffee table. A 1919 Silverstone phonograph is sitting dusty in the corner. He turns and makes his way to the bedroom. He slowly pushes the door open. It swings inward, creaking and popping as he half expected it would. It's dark and musty and smells of loneliness and desperation waft through the air. He steps inside the room. He looks to the bed where the sheets have been tossed aside. He then turns to the closet to see a rack of suits, ties, and a couple of overcoats. He turns back to face the kitchen, then he walks across the room. A feeling of loneliness strikes him in the gut. But he is Jack Manson. He will not be given to such emotions. He will not let himself feel regret, loneliness, or desperation. His father taught him that a man never reveals his genuine feelings, and that only shows weakness. Hide them. Keep them in, and you will always have the respect of other men. Your emotions are yours. Now control them. His father was a strict man. When Jack was 3, his father moved the family to Chicago so his father could find employment. He was a good man, an honest man. He treated his family kindly and with love, but he expected to be respected and obeyed by his young sons. Jack's brother was born in Chicago. The city had little to offer on the south side, where the family lived, and where most of the most brutal men resided. His brother would never see adulthood. Jack pauses near the cupboard. He swings the door open, and there, like an old friend, sits a half bottle of scotch. He grips the neck as if shaking hands with an old buddy. He removes the bottle and turns to a glass sitting on the counter. He lifts it to his mouth and blows the dust off before pouring a hearty glassful. Jack's mother was the quintessential homemaker. She was quiet and meek. She and his father married, both at the tender age of 17, making Detroit their home. Both had working-class families. He was a school teacher, putting himself through college, all the while working part-time at 3 different service stations, just to pay for a meager teaching degree. After Jack was born, he was offered a job in Chicago straight from graduation. There the family did well, and it was decided to have another child, but at the age of 12, the younger of the 2 Manson boys was struck by a car and killed instantly. The family was never the same after that. There is something about losing a child, during birth or after. Parent's life is never the same. When a child dies before the parent spends the rest of their life questioning everything about their ability to be a parent. Over time, this manifests and grows, and if untreated, acts as a cancer, not destroying the physical body, but the soul. That was about the time his father Henry began drinking. He drank to cover the pain of the loss. He drinks to forget his beautiful boy's smile. He drinks to forget teaching him to play ball. He drinks to cover the feeling of helplessness during his son's time of need. And he drinks to hide the feeling of being an inadequate husband. It was also around this